Great to see you again, Tamra.
Great
Thank
to
you for
see
coming
you.
in.
You too.
It is crazy to think it's been 25 years since Billy Madison came out. I don't have
Oh
no
my
idea
God, I
how
thought
that
it was
happened.
20. It's 25?
It's 25. It's 25.
Oh my God.
I'm confirming this. Yeah.
That's amazing.
It's 25. I mean, he's got to at least be like graduated from high school at this point.
Oh my, yeah. He's,
Yeah.
wow.
Yeah. Maybe even
That's
college. He might have even graduated college with it. I feel like he probably took his time getting through those years. Tell us a little bit about going back to your origin story on Billy, how you first got involved in this one. I know you'd already done a couple features. You'd done Gun
Yes.
Crazy. You'd done CB4.
Yes.
How'd you come on board this one?
It was kind of a weird backwards way, I have to say. I originally met Adam for it. Like the studio, they were happy with me from what I did with CB4 and what happened with Chris and myself, and that was a good experience. So they were like, oh, we would love you to do Billy Madison. Can you fly out and meet with Adam Sandler to New York? And I was like, totally. So I flew out, I met with him. We had like a really nice meeting. We totally hit it off. He seemed very familiar to me, whatever. I really liked him. And then I came back, and then the studio was like, we're kind of disappointed. He's going with his friend who he's like worked with a bunch of times. And then I was like, oh, that's all right, whatever. And then I happened to have been on another movie. A crazy thing happened, and I got taken off that movie. And then I got a call that, hey, they were unhappy with how it was going on Billy Madison. The director had shot for 4 days. Will I come out and do Billy Madison? And I was like, what? And so I got a call on a Wednesday. I was on the plane on Thursday with the head president of the studio. And then by Monday morning, I was shooting Billy Madison.
Is that an odd experience to come onto a
What?
film set
Fun.
after it's been started by another
Yeah.
filmmaker for 4 days?
Yes. Yeah, totally. You're like walking on fresh. And so,
Yeah.
and it was also a lot of pressure because obviously the studio wasn't happy. So now you have to like save a ship, you know? And so it was so crucial. It was like that weekend or that Friday night, I basically had to get like jumped into the gang of Adam Sandler. Like it was kind of like I had to do immediate immersion into Adam's world, what makes Adam funny, like being part of that team. And he has a very tight team. He still has those guys around him like to the day. And they were at that time like we're all 20 years old or something. We were like this young group. And so I basically had to spend like every minute with Adam and Tim and Jack and, you know, his Alan, like his whole crew, and get what was funny. That was like the thing. And believe me, I got it. Like it was so funny. I had the best time of my life. And then, but it was just like every night Adam just had to be like, it was like fast, you know. I had to figure out what I thought about Adam, what was amazing, what I loved about Adam, and then also understand his humor, and then also try to figure out what the studio was bumping, you know, what was the problem, and fix a problem, and we start shooting Monday.
Yeah, I mean, you don't have to get too specific, but what was the problem? What do you think was not working early on?
All they said to me is they said he wasn't funny.
He wasn't funny. Well, Adam Sandler is.
That's what I'm saying. Like he's
very funny.
He's the
especially
funniest
in
guy.
this movie.
That's what I'm saying. Like, so I was like, "What? He's not funny?" And so they were like, "Yeah, that they weren't." And I was like, "Okay." And then to me, you can't direct a comedy from somebody unless you think that they are super funny. And so I totally thought he was funny, and I think that's was the magic is. Somehow in this weird way, you realize that with comedians, one of their main things is they're trying to get you to laugh.
Yeah.
Really bonus if they could get a girl laugh. Like a bunch of guys getting a girl laugh, that's like home run, you know, like
that's what you're aiming for.
That's what you're aiming for.
Yeah.
And so it was all about like how much they, you know, like could they make you laugh? Can they make me like making somebody laugh? And what's funny, and I love laughing, I love having a good time, and so we just like died of laughter for like as much as we could, and it was we just had the best time in the world. And I think that's what it was putting Adam in a place where he's making Tim laugh, like trying to get Tim Hurley to laugh is like he's so straight faced, and when he gives you that laugh you just feel like you hit gold. So it's like we just had to loosen up and have a good time. Yeah.
Just to clarify, because I want to make sure I got this right, they were saying the director wasn't funny, or Adam wasn't being
Adam
funny
wasn't
enough
funny.
for that director?
Yeah, I mean, thank God I don't have to be funny.
Yeah. Okay, I first interpreted that as the director was not bringing enough comedic
Who
touch
knows?
to it.
I have
But
no idea.
Adam, he was not getting the best performance out of Adam.
They
is
were.
what
They
you're
didn't.
saying.
And you know, a lot of it is just trust in general. You know, a
Yeah.
studio has to trust the actor in the process. But
Yeah.
you know, because you don't know sometimes, and you have to let us find it. You know what I mean? Like
Mm-hmm.
as talent, like we should have that opportunity to be protected, to be like, okay, let's find the joke. But I think that that's what happened, is we were able to, yeah. I don't know. It was so much fun. And then, yeah, what were the fun things I was able to bring around, and
Mm-hmm.
how I saw the world, which might have been differently than the original director. And
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it was fun.
How confident were you in the subject material going in? Because it's a very specific comedic tone. I mean, you can call it sophomoric or juvenile, but I mean that in a good way. I mean, that's why the movie works, because of its sense of humor. But you know, it feels like it's also one of those things that could go either way very easily.
You know, I feel like that's where, like, of course, those kinds of, it's almost like this skit comedy we were doing, and we did it, and I did it in C4. It was really the idea that, okay, how do we make this scene the funniest scene possible? And yes, we're telling a story, and you just have to kind of remember that that story is laid out in the script. But as artists, when we do that scene, it's our job to make sure we made the funniest scene possible. And so, yes, shoot it as scripted, but if there's like, if somehow in the moment there's another joke there that you didn't know or whatever, you have to also give the comedian that ability to find that joke as well. And so I feel like that's what we were always trying to find, is like finding that joke. So it wasn't like, oh, the director wasn't funny, and Adam just needed to relax and find that humor. So,
How confident was Adam on set? Because he'd already become a big
talking
star in
about
SNL, but this was his first
well,
star
I think
vehicle.
it struck him at first, because they were like, "You're not funny," at first, you know. So I
Yeah.
think that then he was like, "Whoa, I'm not funny," and so he got a little you know, whatever, and maybe I think I remember even like his shoulder was like, he like got a
man.
neck crick or something, and so I think that then it's just whatever. I don't know. I feel like the confidence of that, then you just have to really pare it down to the essence, and like go back to what makes you funny. And you know, and I think that that's where we went to. We found those moments. I'd watched like everything I could possibly find on him and thought, okay, this is the stuff I think is funny of Adam. I also personally, as a young girl, I thought he was so super cute, and I thought like, oh, if I could also, you know, Adam was an attractive guy at that time, so I was like, and then, but it was almost like a joke, because he never saw himself that way. He always saw himself as this kind of goofy guy. And I'd be like, no, Adam, like, this is your better side. Like how we were like, what's my better side? I was like, this is your good side. And so we would make a joke of him like always coming into the room with the good side. And we just had fun, you know, and I feel like that's where confidence comes, is like, I'm confident that you really made me laugh right now. I'm not laughing fake. Like, this is a true, we're authentic. You can't fake a laugh like that. And so I think that the confidence comes from that, and from that relationship of trusting that if he thought you were funny, and Jack thought you were funny, and, you know, everybody thought you were funny, you know, then we move on, you know.
Yeah.
But he had a good team with him.
I've gotten to meet him a few times, and he is one of the most genuinely friendly people in this business. I mean, he is so humble and so friendly. You immediately, like, that barrier when you meet a celebrity for the first time, I feel like with him is immediately broken. He's right there on the level with you.
The kindest,
You-
the
you-
nicest.
You hear stories about him when he goes on a movie set. He says hello to every guy in the crew. There are no airs about him. Was he always like that?
I have to say yes. Like that, in a weird way, I feel like after Billy Madison, that and he knows that, because that's part of his thing, is that he is so average guy, like everyday acceptable guy. And so we would joke about that, like it was hard to go anywhere, to go out to dinner or whatever, go to lunch with him, because everybody feels like they could go up to him and say something to him, and he really is that approachable, and he wants to be that approachable. So it kind of, I feel like that puts a lot of pressure on you wherever you go in public. Yeah, there's some celebrities that you're like, oh my God, there's so-and-so, and they look the other way, or they're like, they whisper behind your back or something. But he really is the guy that, that people feel so comfortable with, and he is so sweet in that way, and he loves his fans. Like he thinks if he can make you laugh, he loves you as well. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I think that's really honest about him.
I hosted a Q&A on the opening night of Uncut Gems, and got him laughing a lot, and like every time I heard him laugh at something, I would say it just like it was inside my brain. I'm just going like,
You love
this is a little bit of a triumph. This is
Yeah,
internally.
you feel so good.
You feel very good when you make Adam Sandler laugh.
Yeah.
Have you seen Uncut Gems?
It's insane. I mean,
It's
like
so good.
it's such a good movie, and the brothers that
The
the Safdie brothers,
Yeah, Josh and Benny.
like only they could have made that movie. It has such a unique vision, the music, the look. It's like your heart beats like you're watching it, like you're so intense. Like I had to stop a couple times and like catch my breath because I was like, oh my God.
Yeah.
And his performance is insane. Like
It's so intense.
it's so intense. And I'm so upset that he didn't get like a big recognition for that, because
should have gotten an Oscar
he should have gotten an
nomination.
Oscar nomination. He should have gotten every single nomination. I hope he still does throughout whatever awards things there are, because it's amazing. But you know what? You don't need, like, he nailed it. Like even to everybody. I think I think it's just amazing, and that they saw him in that. They saw that he was capable of doing that character is just insane. And I mean, I'm also really impressed with Kevin Garnett, so as well.
Yeah.
But
Well, I mean, could you see go back 25 years on the set of Billy Madison? I mean, Adam has evolved into this unbelievable dramatic actor. I think Uncut Gems is probably the best thing he's ever done. But time and time again, every time the guy does a drama, it's really impressive. I mean, it could not be further from Billy Madison, but could you see that in him, that he was capable of these types of performances?
I could.
Yeah.
I could, only because, well, I've been around him. Like when we were doing Billy Madison, he had a girlfriend, and I saw him get in a fight with his girlfriend that was like one of the most insane like fights I've ever seen. And after that, I was like, oh my God, you can be a dramatic actor. Like I just saw you go who is that guy? Like I saw somebody I've never seen before. So I saw a different person. I was like, oh my God, that's like. Yeah,
it's in you.
It's in him. Yeah, that was like when Paul was doing his movie. I was like, oh my God, Adam Sandler. Like you can see it. He has that. But I think that's also what is so amazing about comedians on Billy Madison. Is we had Chris Farley on the show, and that's the thing, that you also see that in the best comedians, and you hope that it's not always there, but there is that comedy tragedy. There is that. Whatever. There's a lot of times the things that make them deal with the humor so strongly are the things that have really, because they have like a darkness. They have like a something that's sad or dark or whatever. Like that's what I love about them, is there is this other side, and that's how they deal with it, is they're able to laugh about it. But when they're not laughing about it and they tell it to you another way, you're crying. It's like there's definite tragedy, and that's what I think why some of them hit so hard, is because they're able to tap into that.
Right. Yeah, the late great Chris Farley played very memorably the bus driver in this one.
Oh my God!
Tell us about working with him.
Like he's the best. He's the funniest guy ever, and I just loved him more than anything as well, because he really was that like. He just wanted to be loved as well. Like he wanted you to love him, he wanted you to like him, but he also wanted you to think he was, the funniest. And comedians are very competitive too, so that part was great, and they cheered each other on. Like seeing that, I think is really funny.
They already had the rapport from SNL.
Oh my God, they totally, and that, it's so funny. But there was a night that happened on Billy Madison, and I was able to recall it because I was there, and so I'm like, do you remember this? And it was funny. I just worked with Gwyneth Paltrow, and she was there that night too. And so we were all at the Sutton Place Hotel. We were all staying there, the Sutton Place Hotel in Toronto. And Farley was there with, oh my God, I'm so bad with names. He was doing Tommy Boy and
David Spade.
Tommy Boy with David Spade. Gwyneth Paltrow was there making some other movie, and we were all staying there. And we played this game in the hotel room. It's called the Dead Game. Have you ever heard of it?
No.
Okay. Everybody closes their eyes and one person's it. And then it's like after a certain time or a buzzer goes off, you open your eyes and you walk around the suite or the house or wherever you're in, and you find who's ever it dead. It's like they fake their own death. They stage a death. Okay. And so I know it's like the super morbid.
There's a lot of ketchup involved in this game.
It's like the craziest thing ever. Okay, so Adam was like dead next to the toilet, strangled by his underwear or something. It was like everybody, you know, Gwyneth, we woke up and like she was under the glass table, like her death, and we were all like, ah. Okay, I don't know what I'm allowed to say on TV, but what's your TV thing?
It's the internet. You can say
Internet.
anything.
Oh my God. Okay, so Chris Farley, we all opened our eyes. He was dead in front of us, stark naked, with an Avion bottle up his butt. Up his butt. So that's what we woke up to.
Wasn't expecting it to go there.
No, but that's where he went. Do you know what I'm saying? That was the commitment level.
He would go anywhere to make you guys laugh.
We died. We were like, we all laughed so hard. It just like, and that, so I saw Gwyneth last week and I was like, do you remember that? We were dying, yeah. Like I was like, we were the only, like girls never ever get invited into that room, you know?
Yeah.
It was crazy. And like even that night, Adam had these double doors in his suite or something. That's where they came up with that, like the dancing, the striptease, like being the dancers coming out because we had these stupid double doors, and that became like a skit on SNL where they do. Oh, we had the best time ever. It was so much fun.
That is amazing. Thank you for sharing that. That's amazing.
But I mean, like he was that committed, and like even when we were shooting, he had to do the thing where he is driving and he turns red like that. Before we did it, he was, I guess, sober at the time, but he stood aside and he downed, somebody had him ready, downed 6 espressos like this. And then he went and did it and he held his breath till he turned red. And everybody else is laughing like they're hilarious.
Yeah.
I was going to have a heart attack because I'm like the mom.
You're
I'm
worried
like
that he's going to have a heart attack.
I'm worried he's going to have a heart attack. Like he's willing to push himself. He held his breath, his eyes bulged out. He was like, oh my God, you don't have to go that far.
It is one of those performances where you watch and you're like, where does that come from?
Where is he going?
What is he channeling there?
It was like we were.
It's espresso.
He just would go as far as you let him go. Like he went there. And that's, I think, that what I loved about it is we had the privilege and the freedom in a weird way because we were this little movie that, and after like the beginning, Bob Simons was our producer. He just was like, studio hands off, let us do it. And they just like, they never talked to us again. And we were able to play and do like these ridiculous, silly moments and just have fun with them.
This is kind of broad, but like, what are some of your favorite memories from actually being on the set of this film?
I mean, we just had, I don't know, we were laughing. Like, I think that those things that I love are, I mean, of course, Chris, when he's laying in bed, like fantasizing, just wherever we were going. Adam, you know, just walking around the room, like having a flirty scene with Veronica Voss about what he's going to do with her, and we're like, I don't know what he's talking about. Something about
he was just ad-libbing left and right.
No, I'm sure a lot of it was scripted. Yeah. But every once in a while it would be like we did like the bathtub scene, and then we got what's scripted, and then we were like, okay, Adam, make us laugh, and you know, he'd come up with that conditioner, whatever his shampoo conditioner.
That's I mean, burning question. I don't want to get too controversial, but what is better, shampoo or conditioner? The debate raged after this film came out.
I know, but that was ad-libbing with just us sitting there, like, how can you make us laugh? And we were just holding your breath, you know, so that you don't ruin the take. And I think that to me is like whenever, even now to this day when I'm directing comedy, that's the gauge. You have to be like, is my gaffer, is my sound guy that's holding the boom, are they about to lose it right now and ruin the take? Like, and then you know you're in comedy.
Yeah, can you see them
doing
this?
The AD's like, oh my,
Yeah. Where's that going to go next? Adam obviously had to work opposite all of these children. What was the dynamic like between Adam and all those kids?
Okay, that was amazing. Okay, so he was amazing with those kids, like, because they just climbed all over him. Like, he couldn't walk onto a set without them all, like, thinking he was like giant jungle gym. So, but he really loved them. I feel like at this time, neither of us had kids, so we were all like, both of us were both also like, oh my God, the girls are amazing. There were none of the boys. We were just like, none of the boys. We just want girls after this.
And Adam is a girl dad. I think
he's like a girl
girls,
dad.
Right?
Yeah. The girls were just like, each of them were like, you know, we just loved the girls, and the boys, we were like, oh, they're so like, yeah, so we had so much fun with that, and you know, just seeing his relationship with each group of kids and how he worked with the boy in the film was really amazing. You know, yeah, but we had the craziest things, because it was also, he kept telling me, and this is like early days. I don't even know if you could do this these days. He would be telling me like, hurting kids is funny, and I'd be like, no, it's not. No, it's not.
It's
like,
it's funny in the
like,
movie. That's
he's
for
like,
sure.
no, he was like, tell me. He's like, I swear to you, like, it's funny. And then that was always the joke, is be like, I'd be like, no, I don't really see the humor. And he'd call me up, and it was almost like, Tamra, okay, tomorrow when we do this dodgeball scene, I'd be like, yeah, what's up? And he's like, I want you to tell the props guy to deflate the air in the ball, because I'm really going to hit these kids. And I'd be like, no, you're not. And he's like, yeah. Let me tell you, I'm really going to hit these kids. And I'd be like, no, Adam, you can't hit these kids. And he'd be like, deflate the balls, make sure it's okay with the parents. And I'm like, what do you mean make sure? He's like, tell the parents that I'm going to hit their kids, and only
That's nice, you check
get
in
the
with the
parents to make sure whoever offers their kid to get hit.
And they're all stage parents, so
They're
they're like,
stage
sure, yeah, go ahead.
Exactly, they are, which is so frightening, but yes. And so I was like, okay, but I really thought like, no way is he going to do that. And I think like even like Entertainment Television was there that day, and then he really did it.
Yeah.
Like he really was like, okay, and then he was like, wind up, and he really hit those kids with the ball as hard as he possibly could. It was crazy.
And there were tears involved?
That's why at each time the kid gets hit, there's a cut. And me dying on the sidelines, like just dying, going, no, but also laughing, because it was crazy funny.
Yeah.
But he really was.
You guys could have crafted like the world's most offensive blooper reel if you wanted to for this movie.
It was so
kids
horrible.
Just breaking down into tears.
But the kids wanted to do it. The
face
kids
of
were
the
like,
dodgeball.
me. Like they still wanted to get hit. Even a kid after getting hit was okay with getting hit again.
Right.
So it was like, and they acted to, but it was really him doing it. And also the way he did it with such force with his face. It was, we were dying, but we also were like, oh my God, this is crazy. So I feel like that's also, there's some things like, in working with those guys at that time, I cannot even believe I got those opportunities, but it's the same thing, like even working with Dave Chappelle, like I have to always check Tammy, you know, whatever, like the girl in me, like if they say they want to do something, like don't immediately judge it. Like we have to be so careful of our comedy, like that, because sometimes that's where comedy is, and nowadays we're so uptight, like, oh my God, you're going to offend me, oh, that's so not, like, that's so, don't do that. But that's where a lot of humor is, and we have to just make sure that we don't, like, whatever, knock ourselves into this world where we can't do anything because we're so offended by whatever it is. But believe, and I had to watch myself with that. You know, I had to be like, you know, Dave Chappelle saying, oh my God, I'm going to come into the room and you know, I'm going to step on the dog when I get in there. I'm just going to walk right over him. And I'm like, no, the dog. And I had to be like, check yourself, just laugh, go, that's where his humor is. Be like, yeah, that's the funniest thing ever, totally. And be like, and see if it works. And if it worked, it stays in. If it didn't, it gets cut. And just like, I don't know, I think that was a lesson for me a lot with working in humor a lot of times, is just be like, stop with the, in your,
right,
you know?
right. Yeah, and it's tough these days, right? I mean, the
God.
line that you have to toe
is
has
crazy,
gotten a lot thicker.
is a lot thicker. And so I really feel like it's danger for comedy, because that's where comedy is in that line.
Right.
And if you're not able to do those jokes, it's like, where are you finding comedy nowadays? You know what I mean? Like, it's just really, I don't know. So I love comedy when it pushes the limits. Like, I think it's fantastic. That's what the job of a comedian is.
Sure, sure. And few people do it better than guys like Dave Chappelle, too.
God.
I mean, he's
Like,
constantly
we're
pushing that
freaking
that
out
envelope.
with his stand-up, like having to pause it every second and discuss it. Like, oh my God.
Billy Madison eventually became, I think you could say, a cult classic. I mean, definitely like a VHS tape. My friends and I in high school just wore out, repeat viewings.
The best.
At one point, did you see it sort of like catching on in pop culture and really sort of becoming a movie that people were watching over and over and over? You
know, that's what was weird, is like when we made the film, like when we got it, we tested that film. Like when you do a studio film, I mean, they're making you test this thing 5, 6, 7, 8 times. Where like hundreds of people watch it, grading you, giving you a score. Like you cannot believe what the rigmarole they put you through. So by the time you have it rolled out, they know what, you know, whatever you made choice, whatever. So when we came out with it, I knew his core audience, or the people that we wanted to make laugh. I knew we had it. Like we'd go to screenings and kids would just be losing it in the audience. Like so. And they hadn't seen anything like that really, you know, for whatever. Like we knew we had gold. And then we had like critics came out, and critics did not like it.
Of course, yeah.
And so Adam and I had to be so tough because we knew what we made. We made a good movie. Like we loved it, and whatever I delivered to the fans and whatever. And you just have to be like so tough to the critics because you're like, and then we had to even have the attitude of like, you know what, if that person liked the movie, we just made the wrong movie because we didn't make it for Joe Schmo, older dude, Richard Schickel. Yeah, we
magazine.
messed up if we made that guy's movie. So then you have a confidence in the kind of a thing of like that we didn't make the movie for you. It's like that's not for you. It's for these people. It's for my fans. It's for my. I'm speaking to my audience, and so that's where I just really felt like you don't have to make a movie that appeals to everybody as long as you hit who you're making the movie for. And I loved that. And I also loved that we were so afraid, or Universal was afraid, like if it didn't, the kids who young, when we tested all ages. If they didn't understand a joke, they just went over their heads. They didn't get it. And they might hear other people laughing and they laugh, but they didn't get what the joke was until they were age appropriate. So I feel like we didn't really need to, like, I don't know, I loved that too, that it's like you didn't get it unless you figured it out by that age.
Right.
So I don't know, so I feel like I didn't know that it got anything because we had the brush of like the audience loved it, but the critics said Adam Sandler's is soft, whatever, moronic, and whatever they call him, which he was a freaking genius for what he did. Like they didn't understand that it makes me upset. But I just feel like he's a genius. He totally knew what he was doing. And so we kind of went with that. And it wasn't until Adam kept making those movies, and people just also kept going up to him and being like, Billy Madison's my favorite movie. Billy Madison, you know, and whatever, like Happy Gilmore. Like those movies throughout all the years, because that's his first view, you know what I mean? And people just fell in love with that guy. So that was amazing. And I personally never felt like anything, because once I make a movie, I'm just always like the next. So I never notice it. But then sometimes I'll be like on a set and I'll hear lines from the movie from like the grips or the gaffers. And at first I thought like, oh, they're so funny. They're saying that because they're trying to like, you know, see if I'll catch them or like whatever. Be like, hey, nice, yeah, boys, whatever. And they don't even know that I did it. Like they know. So I feel like that's where I really find it, because I see that like it just becomes those words and those things, like it becomes part of the culture, and those lines become part of culture, and people say those lines it's like memes in a way. It's like that.
O'Doyle rules.
Oh my God, yeah, O'Doyle rules.
If peeing your pants is cool, consider me Miles Davis.
Yeah, or just like the whole idea that after listening to this that you're stupid, you know, and after listening, that.
I mean, there are memes now left and right, all these lines. From
so many. So that's where you realize like it has a sustaining impact on culture.
Yeah. Did you guys ever discuss doing a sequel after you saw it catch on like that?
No, no, that would be funny though. But no, I don't know. Yeah. I just worked with Bradley Whitford again too. That was so funny. I love him. Yeah.
I read that he never even watched Billy Madison. Do you know if that's true?
I know he's watched it by now. Probably he has kids, so he's probably watched it. But I feel like in a weird way, I don't know. Like I feel like he himself was really also trying to be a serious actor, and he had these comedic things. And so I have no idea what he felt about his. And he might have also thought like, we're these crazy kids. What are we doing? You know, whatever. Like. Because we were kind of running it then, and it was weird. And I also think that was the other, like Adam is so unpredictable. Like when I read it at first, it was like, oh, Adam and his friends. And then because I come on the set and it's already cast and whatever, and he's on the set and his friends are like these old guys, like Norm Macdonald. And I'm like, this is so, like it's totally not what I thought. So just that readjustment of like, oh, there's, like things aren't all, I don't know, I just love that you had to go with stuff. You had to just trust and be like, yeah, like those are your friends, these old dudes that are just like,
Norm Macdonald, I read, did a little method acting.
Oh my
He was
God.
was he
He was
drunk during
crazy.
the scenes? He was wasted.
I
That's what I
honestly
read.
don't know. He's so crazy
Yeah.
and he's so funny that you don't know what's crazy, what's funny, what's why. I have no idea.
Hmm.
But I know that he always was, like, I think that professionally, he was always on set. He was always professional. So
Hmm.
that part, I feel like if anything like that gets in the way of you being professional, then people notice. But I didn't notice.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was 100%. But also just like, who is he? He was the funniest guy ever. And just like, I just was dying. Yeah.
You were directing all these great movies as far back as the early 90s. At the time, you were in the vast, vast minority of women behind the camera. What do you think why do you think it's taken so long to even start to approach gender parity when it comes to directors?
I don't know. I mean, I know I kept thinking like, I'm opening the doors, I'm floodgates, whatever. I just feel like if girls can make things that are also successful, or also just like, believe me, we just had this huge, massive discussion to be like, I started directing with the idea that I don't have to be a cowboy to make a Western. I don't have to be an African American to make a movie for African, like the idea that you have to be the thing to make the thing, or to be the person, the actor, to be the act that part. Like I feel like that's part of who we are as artists. Is that I shouldn't only make movies that are women's movies the same way I don't think we should put that on men, that men should only make movies for men. I feel like if you have a way to tell the story that's unique and interesting and whatever, everybody should have that choice, because you give that same script to 3 different people, they're gonna make 3 different movies, and so if one person is always making that same thing, you just keep hearing that same voice. So I think that it's great to have different things. And I don't know, I feel like you go to film schools and there's a lot of women, and it's hard. It's a lot of it has to do with confidence, I think, and a lot of it has to do with when people think of a director in their minds, they used to always think of like a dude in khakis and a baseball hat. The same thing with an architect. They see like the dude with the suit on and the businessman. And so that's our job as a culture and society, is to change the way we get those images, so that the people that hire them don't only think of that person. That the more we can show that there's a diverse range, the more when people think of, I'm going to hire this person, they see a different person. They don't just see one type of person. And I've never seen it more like diverse as I've seen it now, like as somebody that I continually work, like, and so I've never seen more women directors. I've never seen like more diverse directors. It's amazing what's happening right now with television and film. And I really feel like you see that in the greater scope of things, for sure. People are getting opportunities to direct and telling their stories. And I think like we're definitely getting an incredible forward trend. But I also feel like we need to, know that there's going to be like great hits and great, losses, and to support filmmakers and, just whatever, like be open to that diversity and seeing new voices. Yeah, but it's definitely better, but it's still like a challenge. It's,
It's still a work in
it's still a
progress.
work in progress.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you found over the years that people are surprised when they find out that you directed like, dude-centric movies like Billy Madison, like See Before, like Half Baked?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like that's what's great. And, I think so. I think that even I'm surprised. I'm like, I cannot believe, who was that girl that like walked onto the set, that little blonde girl, and, they let me do it. I can't even believe it. So I don't know. I feel like that, I just feel like that we just got to keep going in that direction. And, I don't know, keep girls in that situation.
I don't know if this is a sore subject. It was 26 years ago, but do you want to talk about Bad Girls and what happened there? So you were supposed to direct this film.
That's the movie I was talking about with
Before you
Billy
went on to
Madison.
Billy Madison.
Yeah.
This was a female-driven Western. And from what I read, you were let go reportedly for bringing too much of a feminist approach, which sounds absurd, given that it was a female-driven Western. Is that what? Can you tell us anything about that?
I think that nobody ever sat me down and said, this is why you're taken off this movie. And I feel like that's like, it literally was like, we're crushing you. It was so hard because I loved that movie. I felt like I had a story to tell. I had a vision. And I definitely heard like, the feminist Western, and I would argue back saying like, why is that such a bad thing? Like finally show one version of the Western where it's from a female's point of view. We'd like to see, I think that, are we finally ready to see that view? And exactly the reason why I argued for that. I feel like, yeah, you never know. Nobody ever sat me down and said, this is why we're doing this. And yeah, so I'll never really know, but I feel like those are the kind of movies we do need to make. We need to make a feminist Western. We need to make an African American, whatever. Like that's the kind of, we're broad enough now. We're able to experience a lot of things, but we also, it's great to have other films. You know what I mean? Like doesn't mean that, whatever, we don't need to see this version of it as well. You know what I mean? I just feel like it's great to see different perspectives of something. So yeah, that was a tragedy. But also this is where talk about with women, and honestly, a normal girl would be crushed by that and you'd never work again because they crushed me. That was like a crush.
So crushing.
It was so crushing. And that's what Hollywood can do to you. It can totally spit you off and reject you. And as a girl, to take those no's, to then take it back and say, nobody could tell me I'm not a filmmaker. And so the first thing that I did is I picked up a camera and I went out and I made a little film called No Alternative Girls. It was like a 5-10 minute long film with Kathleen Hanna, Kim Gordon, bikini. It was just like, I went out and made like a little Riot Girl movie with the idea that F Hollywood, nobody's going to say you're a director, you're not a director, and take a film away from me. I'm a director the moment I have a camera in my hand, and nobody can tell me otherwise. And so I got back my confidence with that, and that's why it was so weird. Literally a week later, I got a call, and I was directing Billy Madison. And so I had to my confidence had to be up so high that I had to fly on a plane with the president of a studio and say, yeah, I'm ready to take over this film on whatever Thursday, we're shooting on Monday. Bad Girls closed down for like a month or two. You know what I mean? Like that wrecked that film. The whole crew walked. It was like, It was a disaster. So, you just realize but as a director, it's like you have to have that kind of confidence where you walk in and you're like, okay, this is my vision, and you need 200 people to follow you with it.
Well, you've said women should be able to direct stories about men and vice versa, men about women. But was it especially troubling on Bad Girls when you were replaced by a man?
Oh, totally. Yeah. And also I had a female DP. She was replaced. I had a huge story with an African American lead. They were gone. You know what I mean? Yeah, no, it was totally depressing. But I also feel like that's the time, and those studios, they have the rights to make those choices and stuff like that. And I wish it was maybe done a little, whatever, what are they going to tell me? I feel like that's up to them. But I feel like as a filmmaker, whatever happens to you, that you have no control over. But I can only control my reaction to those things, and that's my choice. And my choice was like, no, I'm not going to take the money, because they still had to pay me, which was like freaking amazing. I was like, I'm not just going to take the money and sit back and be like, okay, I wanted to be a director. I had this shot. Then they told me whatever. It's like, you're not funny. It was like, we're not happy with your work, and say like, no, I'm still a director. Like whatever, you can't take that away from me. Yeah.
And then to come full circle, you replaced a man on Billy Madison.
Exactly. Yeah. And then I had like this weird reputation that like, be careful, like Tamra Davis is gonna fly on an airplane and gonna come and replace you. Like I'd come on sets and male directors would be like,
because it happened once. That's what happens.
Yeah, like like I had guys joking with me about that and whatever. I'm like, yeah, like I love that. Yeah.
You've directed tons of music videos over the years as well. I read over 150. I don't know if that's wow. That
was so much fun. Like to be born at that time, like to be able to like be of the 90s and MTV's heyday. Yeah. That was like the best time of it was amazing. It was crazy.
I know you've done so many, so this might be a tough question, but what are some of those you take the most pride in that you directed?
I think that I got to work with like incredibly diverse people. I got to work with rappers like, the NWA and Easy and Tone Loc and Young MC. And then I got to work with like, I don't know, MC like so many rappers. And then I got to work with like the Smiths, Depeche Mode, like English bands. Then I got to work with like Sonic Youth. And then I got to work with like, and Husker Du. And then I got to do like Bette Midler, Lou Reed, Cher, like it was crazy what I was able, like it was so fun. And you have a relationship with each of those artists where you have to like deliver, and I have to like and do something that represents their music and also I don't know, and something that the fans can connect to. I loved it. I had the best time.
Well, according to your Wikipedia, you developed a reputation, speaking of reputations, for being able to work with thorny, quote, unquote, thorny acts, maybe reel them in better. Like, what was the most challenging experience you ever had on a music video?
Oh my God. I mean, everyone is, I mean, I feel like if you come to it with the idea that you're a band, you're an artist, and you know, whatever, I'm like loved bands my whole life. And that person, when they wrote that song, they didn't think like, oh, I'm writing this song so I could become a video star. Back in the days, they just were musicians and they knew how they'd write songs, go on tour. They didn't have to be video stars. And so I really understood that sympathy, or that thing of like, oh my God, you're up here, you're vulnerable. How can I be somebody that helps that person in a vulnerable situation and make sure that they're happy with what's happening. They're happy with how they're placed. They're happy, they feel that they were part of it. And that gives them like agency and you know, responsibility in it. So I think that that's what I did, is I really tried to involve the band or the artist to make sure that they felt that they were part of it as well. We weren't just, this is what you're going to do and we're going to tell you what to do. Like, and that to me was the joy, is that I got to collaborate with those band members. Like I got to be on the phone with them. I got to have meetings with them and get a connection like that. And that's where I really feel that if I come to an artist with respect, like I don't do a video or work with an actor, whatever, without coming to them with like respect for who they are. I've watched their work. I know I'm like a fan, and I'm trying to bring the best performance out of that person. And so I feel like that they know that, so there's trust there. Even from the thorniest person, from Lou Reed yelling at me backstage saying, I'm never going to lip sync a whatever music video, yelling at me, like, oh my God, Lou Reed's yelling at me, you know, or, I mean,
This
I think
is both terrifying
and awesome, but like, I'm like, maybe do I stand up so I'm like not being yelled, you know, and then turning out, making the most incredible thing together with him, or same with Cher, her, yeah. I mean, I've been like, so I feel like, how do you handle yourself in that situation, and you know, and how do you get the best performance out of that artist? And yeah, it could be thorny, it could be crazy, but it could also, when it works, it's also the most rewarding thing ever. Yeah.
Well, I don't know if they were among the thorny bunch.
Yeah.
Maybe they were. Who knows? But you also directed the video for Hanson's mega hit,
Love those
Bop.
plays.
I have not said that phrase in a long time. It kind of surprised me. What stuck out in your mind from that experience?
You know, I knew it was the Dust Brothers, who, you know, Mike and Matt Dike and those guys, you know, those guys were amazing. And so Matt Dike and I kind of grew up together. So they made the song. And when I got the video, like whatever, like, hey, we want you to listen to this song. It was actually, Matt wasn't around. It was just the Dust Brothers that produced it. They sent me, like, from the record company, Danny Goldberg, he sent me like a song and their passport pictures. That was like the only imagery that they had of these kids, were like these little, or like like little teeny pictures. I looked at that middle kid, oh my God. And I was like, if I was a little girl, I would just lose it for this little boy. I was like, this is the cutest boy I've ever seen in my life. Like, and so that's like I told you, I become like the biggest fan. Like when I got to work with them and be on the phone with them late at night, or like have lunches with them and their family, like I was like literally like a little girl, you know, like making those. And so, and like it was so fun to be able to hear their ideas. Like a lot of it's their ideas. And that's why they're so excited about it. That's why it feels so young and youthful, because it's like, we want to drive a Jeep, and we want to, like, it's because it embraced their effervescence, you know. And I feel like that was my strength, is really like changing my style to reflect the person. Like, you know, am I Adam Sandler's biggest fan? Yeah, when I'm working with him, I am. Or, you know, at NWA, you know, to be able to talk to Eazy-E and like try to figure out how to present that in a way that's like a visual thing, and, you know, and then all of a sudden you're like shooting a shot and there really are all gang members, and then one of them has the wrong shoes, and I'm like, I have to tell like I don't even know what gang, so I don't want to say the wrong gang, which gang it was, that you have to change your shoes, and that
it's red or blue, one of those two probably.
And that knowing that I had the strength of Easy behind me to change that to Shoe. Like no matter what, the dude's got to change his shoe because he says whatever she says goes. And you're like, it's nice to know that, you know, you've got, you know, these people behind you. So I know, I feel like we had the best time. So yeah, Mbop was the best. I listened to that song and I was like, oh my God, I would just lose it if I was a 12-year-old girl.
I mean, I was just listening to it again recently, and I might lose some credibility as a hip hop DJ, but like, man, it makes you feel good every time you hear that song. It just puts a big smile on your face. It's irresistible.
Yeah. So I feel like sometimes my job gets so easy sometimes because all you have to do is just like, don't mess it up. Like how could, those kids were the cutest things ever. And I mean, I had that experience recently doing High School Musical with those kids. Man, those were like the cutest kids I've ever seen in my life, you know?
Yeah.
And so to put myself in the audience of who's the audience that watches this, who's your biggest, be the fan of what you're making and truly be that fan. Like I have a true love for that, you know, and that's how I kind of judge things, is like I have a true love for things.
Your resume is so impressive. I mean, I don't think it could possibly get any more diverse than having Hanson on one end of the spectrum and NWA on the other.
No, it's crazy. And then I just did that this year. I just did High School Musical, and the next job I did was Pussy Valley, which was like, you couldn't go from the more to being in like high school with children to strip club in the South, like the dirty. And I was like, but I feel like when you hit those extremes visually and as a person, it's easier to see what those worlds are and what, you know, I don't know. Yeah, and if I work with talented people, I'm like just the best. I translate it. I just try to absorb that, whatever that talent is, and try to show it to the audience as pure as possible.
Finally, I mean, I don't want to end on a sour note, but I mean, it's on the top of everybody's minds right now. We just lost the great Kobe Bryant. I know you're a native Angelino.
It's the worst.
Were you a fan? Did you ever meet him?
Did I ever meet him? Yeah, a little bit. I mean, my kids went to Kobe Bryant camp like 3 years in a row, like up in they have all pictures of him, all shoe signed, all, you know, he's like if you're from LA, he's like the mayor, I don't know, like Kobe Bryant is like, he's legendary. We've seen him play. We've been to Laker games. No, it's devastating. And also just like, I mean, the whole thing, like the dot, like the whole, everybody else on there, it's a devastating tragedy. And how much, you know, when you lose a life, it's different. You know, it's like to lose a life that had also so much future, like that whole helicopter was filled with the future. And that's the stuff that just is so tragic, you know?
Yeah, it wrecks you. What's next for you?
I don't know. I mean, I'm hoping, like, I'm supposed to do a film in the summer. I haven't done a film in so long. I've really been doing television.
Yeah.
I have kids.
Since Crossroads, I think, right? Was that your last, I think, scripted feature film, right?
Yeah, because then I did like a doc right after. But yes, I feel like that's my last feature. And then I had kids, and because I couldn't have kids up until then. So I was just like, okay, focus on kids. And then, so I feel like I'm ready to go back and do a feature. So I'm really hoping something really comes through. I'm signed on to things, but whatever. But I've been having the best time doing television. It's honestly like, the shows are so great these days, and walking in and out of shows is so fun. And I don't know, I've been having, even creating shows, like doing pilots for shows is great. I don't know, I just feel like as long as I love working. And in those relationships that you have with people, when you work with them, you get these lasting connections that you stay in touch and you just have them. It's amazing. Yeah. Cool. It's like a closeness that happens that lasts for years. Like, I'm sure seeing Adam and seeing like how he's doing right now is just amazing.
When's the last time you saw Adam?
Oh man, I haven't seen him in so long. Probably like maybe 3 Christmases. Like, he sometimes has like one of these big Christmas parties. I think that was the last time I've seen him. I've seen Jack more recently, or Alan. Yeah, I've seen like, his buddies. I just love that crew.
You guys got to get back together and play the Dead game again.
Oh my God. The Dead game.
So great to talk to you. Thanks for coming in again. Much appreciated.
Thank you so much. It was so fun. Thank you.